The first thing we're going to do is remove the old one. That's just a clean process. Removing any dressing is always just a clean process. So what I want you to learn to do with any dressing, don't grab hold and pull it off the skin. Good chance of tearing the skin of some of these fragile-skinned elderly people. So rather than that, what you do is you put tension on the dressing, press the skin away from it. Makes all the difference in the world to the comfort of the patient. What you want to do, and then roll it under so that it isn't sticky when you grab it next. Roll it onto itself. You want to come from every direction with the dressing to the point of insertion. So come in every direction toward the point of insertion. Okay, so we're just going to go on around the side and turn it under. And we were doing this, and my student was quite correctly taking their time getting this thing off so they didn't hurt the patient. If you want to, by the way, if real chests are wider than this, you'd have more room to work. And if you want to, you can tape these down so that they don't flop around. Tape as close to the port as you can because you want to clean the lines. So one of the things I'm going to want to do here is unclamp these and move the clamps up close to the ports. Okay. So I would actually probably, if I were taping these, I'd tape them right here so I can clean the entire line. And you just keep turning it under. And you may want to take this tag off that identifies who did it and when, because it gets in the way when you're removing the dressing, like that. And if you just take it off and slap it on the back of your glove, you go right on with your work. Okay, come in this direction. You want to keep that point of insertion clean until you actually remove the dressing. You want to keep it covered. So I'm going to bring this down, but not uncover it yet. Bring this in a little closer. Bring this in a little closer on this side. Bring this down. Now, when you remove the dressing, it must always be removed in the direction of the insertion. Never pull this way. You may pull it out. If you pull it out even a little bit, it cannot be used again until an x-ray is done, because they verify placement with this thing with an x-ray. You know that line that goes all the way in? It has a radio opaque tip, and they will verify placement with an x-ray to be sure it's where it belongs. Because particularly up here, in threading it, it can go into the jugular instead, and that's certainly not where you want it. Okay, so when we're ready to take this off, I'm going to hold these lines. I'm going to pull this down until I can get hold of this green piece, this plastic piece, hold it down, and pull off in the direction of insertion. Now, normally, I would just put this inside my glove, close the glove over it, put the other glove over top of that, and throw them out. We have lots of room here, but you really don't, in a way. By the way, if you're doing a PICC line, this is an awkward place to get to. It's the inside of the arm here. And for him to lie there like this with his arm twisted around for you to get to it is awkward. If you just bring a rolled up towel or something and put beside his pillow, he can lie like this. You can get to it nicely and it's comfortable for the patient. So the next thing I want to do is put the things that I don't need right away aside and open my kit. Now hang on to the stuff in your kit, people, because if you're going to practice this in open lab, you need your kit. So I'm going to take this out. And I have a mask on my headless patient. And a mask on me and a mask on my instructor. Okay, so we're going to open this up. And here's the mask. Finally, I actually have a mask to work with. I'm not going to wait till then. That's just silly. So we're going to open this up. And this is going to be like the Foley, in that what's in there needs to say sterile. My entire field does not, for me. Now, there are kits that come without that little boat. And if that's the case, what you're going to want to do is, from the outside, you're going to want to work this toward the edge, like this, so it's not within that 1-inch edge, but so that I can take the kit and with my sterile gloves reach in without going past my glove and contaminating the field and lay stuff out on my field. Okay, but I have a boat, so I don't care. This can't be, this is not sterile now. This still is. I'm ready for my gloves. Oh, there's one other thing I have to do before gloves. Some kits come now with the biopatch in them, ours do not. Now I need to get a biopatch into that kit without contaminating the kit. This gets to be fun. So I'm going to open this kit. I'm going to open this biopatch, which comes separately wrapped and sterile. I want to get it over here, and I can't come over top of my kit, but I can come right up to the side and just drop it in. If that landed just a little flatter, it would have been a problem, huh? Okay, then I'm going to put my gloves on. And I'm going to use his stomach to put my gloves on. Excuse me, mister, while I use your stomach. Okay, sit, stay. Okay, so I'm going to grab my first one and step back so I don't contaminate the other one while I put this one on. Then, just my little trick, because when you try to scoot this, it's too easy to get onto that outer inch, I turn this. Now if it scoots, I don't care. Get my fingers in under there and put it on. I like these gloves in that they have long cuffs, so I can reach further into my field without contaminating the field. See, I can reach in considerably. And I just touched my skin. So much for that. So that's going to just have to sit. Okay, so now I'm ready to start. I do not need these. They say medium on them. You can check. If they fit, you're fine. If not, okay. The next thing in this particular kit is alcohol. Most kits don't have alcohol anymore. They just have chloroprep. But if you are using alcohol to clean, you will take, this has a single swab in it. With alcohol, you do not want to go over where it's already been. You do not want to go over where you've already been. You do not want to come back over any part of it. So all you're going to do with your alcohol swab, if you have one, is come down one side, right next to the lines. Don't go directly over the hole because alcohol going down in there stings like crazy. And come back up, and then come up the plastic and the lines with your alcohol. This is the only place where you can repeat, is going up the lines. And then you'll toss it. Now you're going to keep yours, so keep your package. Whoops. Okay, next is the chloroprep. Now, one other thing before I go on. See how on this one there's stitches on each side? It may or may not be sewed in. If the patient is real restless and moving a lot, they may sew it in for that reason. But sometimes you just have people who don't have any peripheral veins worth a darn, or you're going to be putting something in that needs the central line. And it's going to come out before they leave the hospital. They often won't sew those in. So you have to be really careful. And those you definitely want to tape this down to decrease the likelihood of displacement, okay? They'll sew them down if the patient's going to go home with them, and a lot of times patients do go home with central. Okay, now with this, they have in here a long swab. The reason it's in there is so for that first dressing change, when you're taking the gauze off, sometimes there's little clots and things under there, and you use this to loosen them up so that you can remove them. But we don't have that, we're just doing a regular change. You can still use this, and the way you use it here is if you want to get under these lines some and they're not taped down, you can lift them up a little to get under the edge, okay, without touching anything except something sterile. So with this, I'm going to go back and forth. And if you go over the point of insertion here, it doesn't matter. You want to go out a good couple of inches all the way around. And then you're going to go, I've gone back and forth, now I'm going to go up and down. Doesn't matter which you do first. So I'm going to go up and down with nice long strokes. Down here, I want to go about 2 inches up onto the neck here. Down here. And over the plastic and up the lines. And if it takes more than one wipe for that, it's fine. You would normally throw this away. Now at this point, people, you want to give it 3 minutes to dry. Chlorhexidine, 3 minutes. Alcohol, 2, 1 to 2. For the dressing, got to do your biopatch. And this is the hardest part of the whole thing, not to contaminate your gloves while putting the biopatch on. Because this is this little tiny thing, you got to slide it on right around the point of insertion without contaminating your gloves. What you're going to do, blue side up, you want to bend this thing without actually creasing it, but you want to bend this thing so you can put it down without touching anything as much as possible. So you're going to come down to the point of insertion, drop one side in place, hold it down. You can touch the top of it because it's sterile, and lay it down. Nothing's going to hold that in place except the dressing. There's no adhesive to it. So you want it around the point of insertion. I can move it a little bit, maybe carefully or not. Okay, and then you're ready for your dressing. Now somebody said, oh, I can write on this ahead of time. No, you can't. You still need to be sterile to put this thing on. Until that's covered, you can't take your mask or gloves off. Once it is covered, the sterile part is done and you can. Well, you can't take masks off now. Okay, so you're going to peel this. You remember what the rule is on the peripheral? In putting the dressing on, up to the edge of the lock, but not onto the lock. On this, the only rule is the point of insertion should be roughly in the middle of the window. Now, I'm going to go a little to one side because otherwise it goes around his shoulder, but roughly in the middle. Okay? And down. One thing you can do before you do that is to lift a piece of this so that you can get hold of it more easily. And we're going to take this off, follow it around. This is still going to go down past. If I touch anything at this point, doesn't matter, because that's now protected. Okay. Okay, you're going to write on this, date, initials. And you want to come over to one side of your dressing and put it on straighter than I did. Okay? All right. Now you're clear in terms of that being protected. So if I touch things now, it doesn't matter. Now I still have a part though where I need gloves on, because now I'm going to change out my ports as part of this. Now this one is going to remain as it is because the leak is not in the port, it's actually in this plastic here. you try to flush this when it goes, and you get a shower. All you do with this, you're going to have this out and ready to go. And you see how there's I opened the wrong end, how there's a cap on it. So if I lay this down, my sterile part still stays sterile. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take my port. Even if something's infusing into this, you'll stop the infusion long enough to change the port. Okay, so what you're going to do is take the old one off with it clamped and put the new one on, just like that. Simple. You're going to flush, after you've got all of these changed, you're going to flush. You would need a full syringe. This has actually got the 10 milliliters in it. There's often a bubble, like there is here. Sometimes the bubble's down here and you can't get it loose. I was standing there one day going like this, and this doctor comes up and says, "What are you doing?" "There's a bubble down here, I can't get loose." And he goes, "There you are." And that works. But now I have a bubble at the top and I don't want that going in. So I'm going to center that bubble, pull back on your plunger, and then gently twisting the plunger, move it up and get the air out. Okay, now I got nothing in there but fluid. Then you're going to take your port, you're going to unclamp, and with a central line, the flushing is with a pumping action. So what you want is, if there are little tiny half-formed clots and things in there, let's wash them out. The body can take care of them. But if they coagulate in the line becomes unusable. So what you'll do is 1 to 2 milliliters per pump with some pressure, not gentle, but like this. Okay? So with 4 pumps, I've got a little over 5 milliliters in there. But when you have finished the whole syringe, you'll take this off, and on the back of these syringes, there's a cap. And you just put that cap directly on. If you look inside the cap, see how there's a little tiny sponge in there? It's soaked with alcohol. So the whole time that's not in use, it's also not accumulating crud on it that could hurt the patient. And virtually every place is now using caps on their not used IVs.